When I was getting started with my farm, I thought my biggest challenge would be raising health birds. I never imagined that getting enough water for my farm would be my biggest headache. You know, most people when they are starting, when they are planning their farms, oftentimes they think about feed, housing, chicks, diseases. They never think about something as basic as where their birds will get enough water. And trust me, I had to learn this the hard way. I'm telling you, people are not easy, yeah, down here in the village. So if you're out there and you're planning to put up your farm in the village, I guess the best thing is to be as independent as you can. I'm going to tell you what exactly happened to me, but before I do this, let me first pump this water. Oh, I've got help. Hey, how are you? What's your name? Huh? Okay. Do you go to school? Which class are you in? Which school do you go to? Which one? School. Yeah. So today you don't go to school?
Yes.
Why? Because it's a weekend?
Yes.
Do you know me? I'm your neighbor. I'm your neighbor just right there. Yeah, I just came, I think this is the second month when I'm here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for helping me, the borehole. You know, it's not easy to pump this water, eh? I find it so hard. We have security over there. It's interesting. You're tired? I help you? Okay, let me help you. You hold this for me here like this. Like that. Am I in the frame?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I still know how to do this by the... It's full. I'm tired. That's some good exercise, eh? Thank you. So I have to carry this. Let me show you our birds. They are doing well. We weighed them last night. On arrival, they were 34 grams. Right now, the average weight is 58 grams. So there's huge progress. Temperatures, 33. Water, check. We put for them chick formula. Yeah, those are some of the mistakes we are trying to correct. I'm going to change the brooder pepper very soon. So the birds are doing fine. They are eating. So far we've lost one chick. We are trying this time. Last time we lost so many birds. We had a lot of mortality, So this time we were trying to minimize this mortality. And so far, alhamdulillah, we've lost only one chick. It died last night. So far. And the third day is the toughest day. Let's see how it all goes. But so far, we are doing fine. Then the other thing I want to talk to you about is the issue of briquettes. I mentioned it in my yesterday's video, and I mentioned that I got them from my friend. However, they don't seem to be of good quality, Previously, I used to get briquettes from my supplier, the lady who supplies me the chicks, and her briquettes were of good quality. They used to last me for 6 hours. One briquette like this could go for 6 hours. However, with these particular briquettes that I'm using now, they only last me for 3 hours. My supplier's briquettes, she used to sell them at 2,000, and I think that's the average price on the market. Most of these briquettes, each is at 2,000. But when this friend of mine, the one who supplied me with these ones, mentioned that he sells his at 1,800, I was quick to, to order with him because I knew I would be saving a shilling. What I didn't know that actually I would be spending more than if I had bought from my previous supply of these briquettes. How? When I was using the other one, like I mentioned, the other briquettes, they could go for 6 hours. That means I need 2 of these briquettes, these current briquettes, to last me for 6 hours. And that means previously I was spending 2,000 in 6 hours, but for these particular briquettes, I'm spending 3,600. And you find that there may not even be enough to brood these chicks for maybe 15 days. That means I'll have to incur extra costs. I think that's why they say cheap things are never cheap. So farmers, I know we sometimes want to make we want to get discounts on some of these products, and we usually go for cheaper products, but let's be cautious, because some of these things, they may be costing us more indirectly than if we had went for, you know, quality products or more expensive products. So let's get back to today's video. Let me tell you what really happened. That was just by the way. So when I was setting up this farm, we had two things to figure out. The first one was electricity. So, you know, we installed, first of all, we tapped power from my uncle's house. That was hydroelectricity. We wired it to the chicken house and then to the farmhouse. But after a few days, the transformer blew up. We also realized that this power could actually not be relied on, because it could take like days without being on. And then that's when we also had to think about solar. So we installed solar, and now the issue of power was solved. Then came another thing, water. It actually became a huge challenge for us. At first we have a neighbor where we used to get the water during the construction and all that, you know. But when we came to start business, to start raising birds. Of course, we're still getting water from there. They have underground well. They pump water using electricity, you know. It goes through the pump and they give to the community, but at a fee. I hear that fee is for electricity charge. It's electricity fee. So we started production. We're getting their water. In fact, that time, since the birds were young, we're like using 1 jerrycan per day at a fee of 200 shillings, which was a fair fee. Then we woke up one morning, we go to get water, and the lady tells us that they didn't pump water. We're like, banange, what are we going to do? But we really had to find a solution. So we looked around, still around our neighbors, you know, and then we realized there was another source. That's the borehole, but this is manual. You need to pump. You need to pump the water using your hands. So we went there. It was cool. We got water for that day. Then, of course, Fazil went back to get more water for the farm. That's when the birds had grown. That a day they could consume like 2 jerrycans. So on average, we use around 6 jerrycans per day, if I'm not mistaken. Farm work and then the chicken house, the birds. So on average, we use about 6 jerrycans. So Fazil goes back to the borehole the next day. They tell him, you need to pay for this water and you need to pay monthly. So every month we have to pay like 5,000 shillings, which is still fair, which is still a fair price. So I give Fazil the money, he goes and pays, and everything continues on, like goes on smoothly, fetches water, day, afternoon, morning, evening, Then Fazil goes one afternoon to the borehole and he finds a very big note. On this note, there is, you can't come and pump water around this time. You must fetch water from this time to this time, from this time to this time. Mark you, this borehole isn't used by so many people. There are just a few people. Actually, I think it's mostly used by the people, the owners of the property where the borehole was dug, and then maybe a few neighbors around, because, of course, there are plenty of other options around the village where people can get the water. So you're like, what's really going on? why are so many blocks? Today, it's the fee. The other day, it's the, you know, we even thinking maybe next time they will tell us the limit of the number of jerry cans we must fetch a day. Because, you know, with the chicken and with the farm, you never know. The birds need to drink water. For them, you can't tell them that, you know what, right now the borehole is closed. Right now, it's not the appropriate time for you to fetch water. For them, they want to drink water constantly. And right now, we don't have reservoirs. We don't have tanks where we can store water. We just moved here. But also, I believe this is an intentional attack, because before we started fetching water from these two neighbors of ours, there were no such, because I tried to find out information, Uganda, no such things were happening in the past. You know, it just started with us, you know, and it got me thinking, you know, when you are setting up a farm in a village and it's the first, you know, you're going to get mixed reactions. Other people will actually be happy thinking that maybe there is development in the community, but others, and I think majority of them, will not take it positively. First of all, they will think it's a threat on the authority. They may think that now the cards are changing. You know, when someone is showing signs of development and in a community, most of the people, you know, there is a shift in power. That's automatic. We all know that. There is no, it goes without saying, there is always a shift in the power. So many people will be threatened. They may think that maybe you are interested in, you know, taking away their authority and position in community. Not so many people welcome development. There are people who are comfortable, especially in the village. There are people who are comfortable. They believe things should be the way they are. And if a young man or a young person comes into an area and starts developing, and these are people, these are elderly people you're challenging, they will not take it. It will not settle well with them. Trust me, it will not settle well with them. That's why I'm saying, if you are moving into a new area and you are going to cause some bit of development, first of all, you must be as independent as possible, and that's what we are planning to do. We are trying our best to be as independent as possible in order not to find ourselves in such circumstances. However, no one is going to stop us, and no one should stop you. I mean, if they have put out community resources, please go ahead and use them before you get your own. But with poultry farming, there is no such a thing as, I think, starting small, especially if you're putting up a farm in the village. You need to be as independent, have the basics actually. If you're planning, have the basics, water, electricity, you know, those two. Make sure you have them on your farm before you start production. That's what I had for you, and I'm going to see you tomorrow. Have a blessed afternoon. Bye-bye.